Bamidele Salam. I represent the fantastic people of Ede North, Ede South, Egbedore, Ejibo Federal Constituency of Osun State. And I rise this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, to lay my voice in support of this bill which has been proposed by my dear friend and colleague from Plateau State, Honorable Yusuf Gaji. And I want to say, like he rightly espoused in the late debate, to why Nigeria deserves a new act to guard the operations of our policing system, that every day we sit here, there's hardly a day when we sit without having one issue or the other bordering on security. And everywhere in the world, the police is the nucleus of that agency that coordinates issues of internal security of every country. And like my dear friend did say, it is rather unfortunate that the act we have at the moment is the same one that has been bequeathed unto us by the colonial masters. Mr. Speaker, almost every day we come into contact with our police. About a few weeks ago, I had the privilege of traveling by road from my state, Osun, here to Abuja. And on the way, we had encounter with several checkpoints manned by members of the Nigerian Police Force. And on most of the occasions, the issue that came to my mind is how we manage the recruitment process into the Nigeria police. With all due respect to our men in the police and the service they render to the country, there is a very great gap in the process of recruitment into the Nigeria police force, to the extent that a lot of the men that today occupy the lower rank of the police system probably will be more useful doing other things in the service of the nation than of the police. And these are people that we entrust with the responsibility of carrying arms and enforcing the laws that are made by the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly. So my point is that it starts from the recruitment process. I believe strongly that this bill should also consider the basic, the minimum requirement of being employed into the Nigeria Police Force, and the probability of that process of recruitment being charged into the hands of tested recruitment agencies with international reputation, because we cannot continue to have a situation where the traditional duties of the police today are being handled by the military, just because there is this assumption, which is based by fact, that the police lacks the capacity to handle some of these very important functions. The second thing, Mr. Speaker, is that I'm also happy that this bill talks about the general and specific objectives of the Nigeria Police Force. There's a saying that when the use of a thing, the purpose of a thing is unknown, abuse is inevitable. We cannot have an institution without specific goals, without specific purpose. And the present law, like has been highlighted by my colleague, does not have a set of goals which the Nigerian Police Force is supposed to enforce. And so there is the constant cases of abuse, just like the one we had in Ogun State of recent, where a young footballer was killed, whether by accident or by whatever, as a result of the police dabbling into an issue which ordinarily should not be part of its purview. And then lastly, he spoke about the issue of security of tenure. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that when there is insecurity of tenure for those who hold offices, there is a higher tendency of they being manipulated by the appointers, the appointing authorities. And so if you do not have a security of tenure for the Inspector General of Police, for the Commissioner of Police, there is a likelihood that the people who hold executive powers will be able to manipulate them, and in most cases make them to act contrary to the laws which establish them, because as human beings they will naturally want to protect that office and ensure that they have security of tenure. And then finally, I think where we should go actually, apart from amending this law, is that Nigeria, it is high time Nigeria started thinking about going through the international best practices of policing in a federal system of government. Every federation has different layers and tiers of policing. Nigeria must not be an exception. What we call the state police, unbundling of the police, or whatever word we want to call it, is ripe for us as a country
if we want to have the best result from our policing system. I so submit, Mr. Speaker, that this bill is actually due for passage, and I support the motion that it should be read for a second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.